Is God a villain? This provocative question has echoed through the corridors of human thought for centuries, challenging the very foundations of faith and belief. It's a question that has haunted humanity for millennia. From the ancient philosophers to modern theologians, the dilemma of divine malevolence has been a persistent thorn in the side of religious doctrine. We are taught to view God as a benevolent father, a source of love and comfort. This image is deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness, reinforced by centuries of religious teachings and cultural narratives. Yet, the world is rife with suffering. From the ravages of war to the devastation of natural disasters, pain and misery seem to be an inescapable part of the human experience. How can a loving God allow such pain? This question is not just a philosophical puzzle but a deeply personal struggle for many who have faced unimaginable hardships. This question, a seed of doubt, takes root in the heart of faith. It grows and spreads, challenging the very core of our beliefs and forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths. It compels us to confront the uncomfortable possibility. What if the God we worship is not benevolent but malevolent? This is not blasphemy. It is a necessary exploration of the nature of divinity and the role it plays in our lives. It is a necessary exploration. To understand the divine, we must be willing to question and scrutinize, to seek answers even in the darkest corners of our faith. We must analyze religious texts not with blind acceptance but with critical thinking. Every scripture, every holy book must be examined with a discerning eye, seeking the truth beyond the words. We must scrutinize the actions of this supposedly loving God. From the great floods to the plagues, the divine actions depicted in religious texts often raise more questions than they answer. Only then can we understand the true nature of the divine. By questioning and seeking, we move closer to a deeper understanding of the forces that govern our existence. The very idea of an all-powerful, all-knowing God raises concerns. If such a being exists, then the presence of suffering in the world becomes even more perplexing. If God knows all, then he knows every act of suffering before it occurs. This foreknowledge implies a level of responsibility that is difficult to reconcile with the concept of a benevolent deity. If he is all-powerful, then he could prevent it. Yet, suffering persists. This enduring pain and hardship challenge the very notion of divine compassion and omnipotence. This suggests either a lack of power, a lack of compassion, or a deliberate choice to allow suffering. Each of these possibilities forces us to rethink our understanding of the divine. None of these options align with the traditional image of a benevolent deity. As we delve deeper into this question, we must be prepared to face the answers, no matter how unsettling they may be. The concept of free will is often used to defend God against accusations of malevolence. It is argued that if humans have the ability to choose their actions, then the responsibility for suffering and evil in the world falls on us, not on a benevolent deity. This notion provides a comforting explanation for the existence of pain and hardship, suggesting that we are the architects of our own destiny. If humans have free will, then suffering is not God's fault, but our own. We make choices that lead to consequences both good and bad. This perspective allows us to see ourselves as active participants in the unfolding of our lives, rather than passive victims of a predetermined fate. We are the authors of our own misfortune. Our decisions, whether made in haste or after careful deliberation, shape the course of our lives. This belief in free will empowers us to take responsibility for our actions and their outcomes. However, this argument crumbles under scrutiny. If God is truly omniscient, then he knows the choices we will make before we even make them. This foreknowledge implies that our actions are already known and in a sense predetermined. If God is truly omniscient, then he knows the choices we will make before we even make them. This foreknowledge implies that our actions are already known and in a sense predetermined. The idea of free will becomes a paradox, as our choices are both free and yet already known. Our free will becomes a pre-written script, a cruel illusion orchestrated by a puppet master deity. We are like marionettes, believing we have control, while our strings are being pulled by an unseen hand. This raises profound questions about the nature of our autonomy and the true extent of our freedom. The idea of predestination further complicates this dilemma. If our fates are predetermined, then God is not just a bystander to our suffering but its architect. This suggests a world where every event, every joy, and every sorrow is part of a divine plan. If our fates are predetermined, then God is not just a bystander to our suffering but its architect. He has designed a world where pain and misery are inevitable, where our choices are merely illusions. This perspective paints a troubling picture of a deity who creates a world filled with suffering and then watches as his creations struggle within it. He has designed a world where pain and misery are inevitable, where our choices are merely illusions. This raises troubling questions about the nature of a God who would create such a system. Is this a test of faith, a challenge to overcome, or a cruel game played at our expense? This raises troubling questions about the nature of a God who would create such a system. The argument of free will, intended to absolve God of responsibility, instead implicates him further. It suggests a deity who either lacks the power to grant true freedom or chooses not to. The argument of free will, intended to absolve God of responsibility, instead implicates him further. It paints a picture of a deity who either lacks the power to grant true freedom or chooses not to, preferring instead to watch his creations dance to a predetermined tune of suffering. It paints a picture of a deity who either lacks the power to grant true freedom or chooses not to, preferring instead to watch his creations dance to a predetermined tune of suffering. This paradox of free will versus predestination continues to be a profound and unsettling question, challenging our understanding of divinity, autonomy, and the nature of existence itself. The Bible, often cited as a testament to God's love, is replete with stories of divine wrath and punishment. The Great Flood, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the plagues visited upon Egypt. These are not acts of love, but of vengeance. These stories depict a God who is quick to anger, who metes out collective punishment without regard for individual innocence. Consider the story of Job, a righteous man, stripped of his family, his wealth and his health, all to satisfy a cosmic wager between God and Satan. Job's suffering is immense, his pleas for mercy ignored. This tale lays bare the capricious and cruel nature of the God depicted in the Bible. These stories, far from demonstrating God's love, reveal a deity who is vengeful, jealous, and capricious, a God who demands obedience and metes out punishment for the slightest transgression. This is not the behavior of a loving father, but of a tyrant. Throughout history, artists and writers have grappled with the darker aspects of faith, using metaphors and symbolism to express their doubts and fears. These creative minds have often found themselves at odds with the comforting narratives of their time, seeking instead to explore the unsettling and the unknown. Their works serve as a mirror, reflecting the anxieties and uncertainties that lie beneath the surface of human consciousness. The image of God as a wrathful judge, a vengeful deity wielding lightning bolts, speaks to a deep-seated unease with the traditional concept of a benevolent God. This portrayal is not just a relic of ancient times but continues to resonate in modern interpretations, reminding us of the duality inherent in the divine. It challenges the simplistic notion of a purely loving deity, suggesting instead a complex being capable of both creation and destruction. The motif of the shadow often represents the hidden, darker aspects of ourselves. It is a powerful symbol in literature and art, used to explore the parts of the human psyche that we prefer to keep hidden. Shadows can be seen as the embodiment of our fears, our guilt, and our unspoken desires. They remind us that darkness is an integral part of the human experience, one that cannot be ignored or denied. It can also be used to symbolize the malevolent forces that lurk beneath the surface of the world. These forces are often depicted as shadowy figures or dark landscapes, evoking a sense of dread and foreboding. They serve as a reminder that evil is not always overt but can be subtle and insidious, creeping into our lives in ways we might not immediately recognize. When applied to God, the shadow metaphor takes on a chilling significance. It suggests that the divine is not immune to the darkness that pervades the human condition. This interpretation forces us to reconsider our understanding of the divine, challenging the comforting narratives that have been handed down through generations. It opens up a space for a more nuanced and perhaps more honest exploration of faith. It suggests that the God we worship may not be the benevolent being we imagine, but something far more sinister. This unsettling idea has been explored in various forms of art and literature, from Gothic novels to modern horror films. It taps into a primal fear, the fear that the ultimate power in the universe might not be a force for good, but a source of malevolence. These metaphors, born of doubt and fear, challenge us to look beyond the comforting facade of traditional religious imagery. They invite us to engage with the darker aspects of faith, to question and to doubt. This process of questioning is not a sign of weakness but a testament to the complexity of the human spirit. It is through this engagement with the darker aspects of faith that we can arrive at a more profound and authentic understanding of the divine. They force us to confront the possibility that the divine, far from being a source of love and light, may be a source of darkness and despair. This confrontation is not meant to lead us into nihilism but to encourage a deeper, more nuanced exploration of our beliefs. It is an invitation to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, to acknowledge that light and darkness, hope and despair, are all part of the same intricate tapestry of existence. The problem of evil has puzzled philosophers and theologians for centuries. How can an all-powerful, all-knowing and all-good God allow suffering and evil to exist in the world? This question, often referred to as theodicy, challenges the very foundation of religious belief. Some argue that evil is necessary for free will, while others believe it serves a greater purpose that is beyond human understanding. Yet for many, the existence of evil remains a profound and troubling mystery. As we delve deeper into this age-old dilemma, we seek to uncover the various perspectives and possible answers that have been proposed throughout history. Throughout history, numerous philosophers have dared to question the existence and nature of God. From ancient Greece to modern times, these thinkers have challenged the status quo, pushing the boundaries of human understanding. Their inquiries have not only shaped philosophical discourse, but have also influenced the way we perceive the world around us. The concept of God varies greatly across different cultures and religions. Some view God as an all-powerful, all-knowing being, while others see God as a more abstract, impersonal force. These diverse perspectives highlight the complexity and richness of human thought on the divine, showing that there is no single way to understand or define God. For many, the journey to understand God is deeply personal. It involves introspection, exploration, and sometimes doubt. This quest for truth can lead to profound insights and a deeper connection to one's beliefs, or it might open up new questions and avenues for exploration. Ultimately, it is a journey that is unique to each individual. As we conclude this exploration, we invite you to continue reflecting on your own beliefs and the questions that arise from them. Whether you find answers or more questions, the pursuit of understanding is a valuable and enriching endeavor. Thank you for joining us on this journey.